All righty, ladies and germs. There's an old school one. How's everybody doing? Whoops, I got too many things open here. All right. So as you can probably tell, it's just little old me right now. And let me move that there. I tell you, when it's a one-man operation, when I don't have Lindsay here with me, it's a cluster, you know what. So Lindsay will be joining. She's hoping. She's tied up on something. She texted me about 3 minutes ago and said she's going to try and be on in about 10 minutes. We shall see. But for now, you got just little old me, and we are live once again on Boy Meets Squirrel. We're here every Wednesday from 4 to 5:30 Eastern. Lindsay wants me to tell everyone 3:30 to 5 Central because she's in the Central time zone. And we talk about issues that men and boys face. And normally we have a topic we want to discuss, but today, like we do every once in a while, we wanted to open things up to you guys. See what you wanted to talk about. There's a whole host of things that have been going on regarding men's and boys issues. So as always, we like to once in a while, like I said, about once a month or every 6 weeks or so, open things up. Let you guys ask us questions, or in this particular case, ask me questions. And there's topics you want to have a conversation about or anything like that, jump in. We are live on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I'll be jumping between all of them. I've got multiple screens open, so you'll see me turning my head a lot. But just kind of before we get started with anything, and I'll let you guys kind of jump in and ask whatever you want. The one thing that I wanted to mention, because I saw it come up again, and I did a video on it yesterday, which went out on all the channels, and it's, you get rid of, I said in the video, you get rid of one and like cockroaches, another one pops up, which is all these rumors going around that President Trump, and I don't want to get into the politics here, okay, is making all these changes to family law. The last one that I saw, well, there's been three of them. One, he was going to get rid of child support or change the taxation on it. Not happening. Then he was going to change custody things. Not happening. And then the latest one was he was going to do away with 50-50 splits and divorce. And as I didn't say it in my video, I thought I did, but I actually didn't. But as many people have commented on the various channels that I have, when did we ever have 50-50, which is true. And the what's laughable about it to me is how, and I'm not trying to insult anybody here, but how ignorant people are to not know. And I guess it's an indictment of our school system. All right. When I'm old, I'm 61 years old. I went to school, grade school in the 60s and 70s, middle and high school in the late 70s. And, we learned how laws were made, how things were done, how Congress worked, how the president worked, what their powers were, the Supreme Court, all of them. Apparently, they're not teaching that anymore and haven't for a while, because there's all these people believing that the president, and it doesn't matter who the president is. And right now it's Trump. A couple weeks ago, well, 5 weeks ago, it was Biden. Whoever was president could somehow magically go in and change all the laws. They can't. All right. They don't have the power to do that. And what's even funnier about this is state law is what rules when it comes to family law. People talk about, well, child support's a federal thing. No, it's actually not. The federal government may provide funding under Title 4D, but the reality is it's the states who control child support and the obligations of it. That's why they have, local and state courts that handle it. Depending on your state, it's called different things. Federal courts don't get involved in that. Never have, right? Supreme Court, even, there's been a few cases that have made their way up, but they push it back to the states. And that's where, when you see these videos, I guess the thing I want to tell everybody is stop believing them. Okay. The people that are spreading them are doing so for whatever reason they're doing it. I've tried to track down where some of them started. I went down the rabbit hole of it. I can't find where it started, to be honest with you. But I did do significant research into whether or not Trump even talked about it. There's absolutely no bills anywhere in the federal level regarding this. Okay. None. Zero. Zilch. Unless something got introduced in the last 3 days. Okay. On any of those things. No bill exists. Okay. But I even looked during the campaign. I've looked on, various governmental websites. I've looked on Trump's websites. There is no mention whatsoever of him doing any of this stuff. My personal belief, conjecture, whatever you want to call it, right, is that this is being done to rile women up, because it is. It's getting the people that are getting a ton of clicks, watches, whatever you want to call them, commentary. They're basically, it's clickbait to get women riled up and upset, and it's working for those people. And unfortunately, a lot of guys are believing it and getting false hope, right? What upsets me most about it is that there are so many guys that are spreading it. And I don't want to fault them. But the bottom line is there's none of this coming. I don't think it will ever happen on the state level. All right. Child support's not going away. All the other stuff, it's just not going to happen. And at the federal level, the most they can do is provide or take away funding. Will they defund Title 4D? Time will tell on that. I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. There's too much money to be made by too many politicians and judges to see that ever go away. But I wanted to talk about that. We talk about politics here when we have to, right? We're not, neither Lindsay or I like to talk about politics here other than in terms of how it affects men and boys, right? This isn't the place for that. I actually, up until December, I actually stopped doing it in December. I used to do a radio show locally where I covered political issues. I was the guy in the middle. We had one on the right, occasionally one on the left, and I was the guy in the middle stirring things up for the most part. So I just wanted to talk about that. Oh, looky who showed up. Hold on. There she is. She's bigger. She's better. She's back. Like, you're right, dear. Because we didn't have time to put cameras up. So how are you?
I'm exasperated with my school, my kids' school.
Care to share or not? I don't want to put you on the spot.
So we're getting very dangerously close to teachers telling me how to parent and how to conduct my household at my home.
Oh boy.
Matthew, my youngest, we call him Gremlin for a reason, and he's a little sponge, and he sneaks around like a little gremlin, and he'll pop up during the darndest conversations.
Really?
Mr. Squirrel and I will be talking, and he'll hear something, and he'll decide that he needs to share it with everyone.
Okay.
And today, or a couple days ago, and I just got the call today, he decided to tell everyone that, well, Daddy's name, Mr. Squirrely's real name is Eric, and Mr. Squirrely made the comment that the bed says his name, eek.
That's fantastic, by the way.
And he went to tell everyone.
I love that one. Oh man. Send him my kudos. Well done. Round of applause. All of that stuff. That's brilliant.
Anyway, so his teacher called all concerned, like, maybe we shouldn't talk like that. I'm like, bitch, have you ever seen children? Like, they hear things, and they don't always hear things correctly either. Like, and who are you to tell me what I say in my own damn house?
And which, you don't have to give their names, obviously, but how was this, the older one or the younger one?
This is the younger one.
He's what, 8, right?
8.
So he doesn't know what you're talking about.
He has no idea.
No, come on.
At all.
Oh, come on. Me? I'd be in front of the school board next meeting. I would skip the principal and go right to the school board.
There's a school board meeting coming up soon. I will be discussing.
They're fun to go to.
Superintendent.
Yeah. So I actually had just started things off. I was sharing on the falsehoods of all the claims that Trump's going to change all family law, but I was just kind of ranting on that for a little bit. We are open forum today, guys. So jump into the comments. Let us know what you think, feel. If there's topics you want us to cover. I did see some questions come in, and I was stalling till Lindsay came on, to be honest with you, which I think I did a pretty good job on that. By the way, I'm waiting to see how long we last on TikTok, because I am so deep in their doghouse right now. Although something freaky happened. I have to talk about this. So I put a video up. What's today? Wednesday. Monday. Got taken down Monday night into Tuesday morning. So I appealed it, and they said no. They flagged me for schmex trafficking. I'm not kidding you. Now, I blew a gasket, to be honest with you, of that one. You want to take me down for things? Okay, fine. You're going to accuse me of that? Oh, there's a problem with that, right? So, long story short, I fired up this letter to go out to legal in TikTok. I have a few things I got going legal-wise against TikTok. I was on my TikTok. The video's back up. It looks like it's live and people can see it. I don't know what happened. I think they got the word I was coming for them somehow. But yeah, it was amazing to me how absolutely ludicrous they are. You want to flag me for whatever content, whatever, fine. To claim I'm schmex trafficking, that is slander.
Well, they probably did it just because they knew that would get you taken down the fastest.
Well, the person that reported, or the group, because it was a mass report again.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to bed that night 10, which was late for me. No problem. Woke up at 5 a.m. taken down. So probably was around 2 o'clock in the morning, like they usually do. They probably mass report it, and that's the one they chose this time. And I'm like, if you're resorting to that level, that's a serious problem. And I am going to request who did it, because I have a problem with that. But anyway.
I got accused of nudity once when I was wearing my sweatshirts. I mean, I'm literally covered from neck. I'm even wearing socks, so I'm covered from neck.
I've seen nuns show more than you. No offense to nuns, by the way.
But I was just like, really? The world of things you could get me on, and that's the one you chose. All right.
Yeah. So Steve just asked, what's the name of the video? I don't remember. Give me a second, Steve. Talk, Lindsay, while I look. Because I called it. It's on my main, the one you're watching if you're on TikTok. Let's see if it's still up.
I don't have anything for its open forum. Someone asked me a question.
It's the failure of female logic, which you can see. It's on YouTube, Instagram. Never had a problem there. Facebook, never had a problem there. I don't think I put it on Twitter, but it's live because it's gone from 14,000 views to 15. So check it out. And
I made fun of female logic in my Material Girl video, Material Squirrel video.
The one you did was it this morning? No, yesterday morning.
That came out yesterday.
Yeah.
Where I said that like most of the feminist logic, it folds like wet tissue paper when put to scrutiny.
I was going to steal that. So, but yeah, I mean, it's fun. Stay tuned. I've been talking to our buddy Curtis behind the scenes about some things I'm looking to do, because there are a dozen accounts posing as me on TikTok, one of which has 216,000 followers, and it's not me. And they are reposting my video.
I think I saw that one. I tagged you in it. And I can't report it as impersonation unless it's a celebrity, which annoyed me because I was like, but I know it's not him. I even commented that. And I was like, you're not Dan. Stop it. Well, and I get the reply back. How do I know? Or how do you know? I don't know you.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Really?
So there's about ballpark a dozen accounts. Yesterday, well, no, Monday. Today's Wednesday, right? I'm lost track. I mass reported all those accounts. I went through one by one and reported them on 2 different accounts. So it was two different times flagging each one. TikTok kicked them all back valid because I reported it as impersonating me and that they're scamming people. So guys, if you're getting contacts from accounts pretending to be me asking for money, it is not me. Okay. I don't ask for money. If you ever, want to see how to, because some people will say, can I send you a donation or something? It's in my link tree. These people are actually DMing people, emailing them and stuff like that. How they're getting emails, I don't know. But apparently they've created fake emails, which then I got to deal with Gmail about that. But so I reported it all to TikTok, and TikTok's answer was a big F you. What TikTok's problem is my name and Need to Be Heard and my logo are trademarked and copyrighted. And now I have TikTok saying, yeah, we're going to go ahead and help those people violate your trademark. That's a legal issue. So I'll be working on that. But anyway, let's get into some of the comments. We're already 15 minutes. Man, it's time fly by. I see a bunch of hearts and likes and thanks and all that. A bunch of people have sent lightning bolts. Caught. What is that one? Caught you too. Oh, I like that name. Sent a bunch of stuff. Thank you for that. The goat sent a heart me. So I'm going to take TikTok to look at the comments. How about you take YouTube? Deal?
Deal. Okay.
And
I see.
we'll alternate. You go first.
Steve Country. Come on, guys. Not that y'all aren't great, but someone's got to ask an actual question. Yes, obviously they were offended because they were from the 1600s and my bare neck offended them.
Oh. Well, I have a first question is from Angel because they don't care about me. They want to know where Lindsay is. She's right in front of your face, Angel. Like I said, she was otherwise occupied. I'll go with the next one since I have it here. Rick said, first, thanks for all your posts. Very informative, reinforcing the things I already knew. And then Logical, your buddy, said right after that, because I was talking about Title 4D, they should curtail the financial incentives from federal government. Amen to that. Lindsay?
I'm sorry, I'm reading. The squirrel has fallen off the tree.
Blank stare into a screen does not work, although it's not radio, so we're better off than radio. When I used to do the radio show, my partner Bill, every once in a while, like if somebody brought up a topic, he would get on his phone and I would comment something and he wouldn't hear me because he was so focused. And there was one time I asked him a question and I sat there for 30 seconds, dead air on radio. And then he looks up, he goes, did you say something? I'm like, dude, we're live. You can't do that. It was funny. The producer is in his booth about fell off the chair laughing so hard.
Oops.
Yeah, that was a no. So what do you got? I'll let you have the next one.
I don't have any questions. Nobody's asking me any questions. Logical's asking Baron versus Man, but we've already wait. Angel's got one. What is the worst tactic you've seen a woman use to avoid accountability?
That's a good one.
Grape claim.
I was going to say false allegation. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other in most cases. But I've seen that with family court. Literally been in courtrooms where they made the grape claim or abuse claim, and it was actually them that did it. And they proved it.
This girl did something inappropriate with a boy. They were both teenagers at the time, but they shouldn't have been doing what they did, and she got caught by her parents, so she accused him of R-ing her on school campus, and unfortunately for her, we had just installed security cameras. So that's what the kid said, because they were standing in the hallway. I think they were skipping class or something. And that's the thing that bothers me the most about this particular, the reason why I thought of it first is because you get caught skipping class, you don't immediately jump to, I was being R'd. That seems like an over-escalation to me.
That's a serious. Do you think, how old was that girl, do you think?
16.
You think
I'm willing to bet she knows an adult woman who used that excuse, and she is just emulating what she knows works.
But do you think she understands the true consequences of that?
No, she doesn't. Because
that's something I've had debates about that myself, is when, because that's not an uncommon thing what you're talking about, right? A boy and a girl, you know, they're in that age group, 16 to 18. They get caught. She claims what she claims. And my opinion is I think most of them don't truly understand just how bad a thing that is. You know, the potential ramifications.
So I'm working on a video for a couple, maybe a month or so from now, because I need to gather evidence. I'm going to go down the rabbit hole. It's going to be a long video, guys.
I gotta turn my lights on. Keep talking. There. Now you can see me.
And it's going to talk about this phenomenon that I see happening in literature, both of the actual published kind that you can go and buy from Barnes and Nobles, or in like the fan fiction world, which I am unfortunately or fortunately very familiar with, of almost romanticizing R. And all of the people writing this literature are all women, either women or girls. They have romanticized this horrible thing to make it sound like it's just, you know, well, he wanted me that much and he couldn't control himself. I'm like, one, you've obviously never had it happen to you because there's nothing romantic about it. And two, this is the literature that teen girls are consuming, the media that they're consuming. So they think they don't realize the gravity of what it really is. It's been watered down so much.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's going on. It's your point. What you just said is exactly the way to put it. It's been watered down so much, and they've been told it's okay to do it and you should do it, which if it actually happens to you, yes, you should, wholeheartedly. And I know you would agree with that. But when you're an allegation like that, you are destroying that man's life forever. Doesn't matter whether you retract it later. Doesn't matter. I've interviewed guys that have had video evidence proving they weren't even in the same city, so they couldn't possibly have done it. Yet people still believe they did it and go after them.
Well, and it's not even that they're making the accusations because they don't think that R is actually as bad as it is. I mean, I cannot tell you, and I have gone through quite a few of these stories because I'm not reading them for pleasure. I'm reading them to pick them apart and analyze them because I need to have evidence of this phenomenon.
Right.
Do you know how many things, and I can almost tell you based on, I have a computer program, I can analyze the literature. I can almost pinpoint your age based on how you write. Certain grammatical things. The Gen Z has a certain way of wording sentences that is indicative of things you'd find on the internet because they read more things on the internet than they ever have an actual physical book. And I can almost pinpoint with pretty good accuracy how old you are if you're writing this stuff. And in almost all of these stories, in quite a few of them, the love interest girl falls in love with her artist. And it was, you know, an act of passion at the beginning, and then, she forgives him later on down the line. And that adds to the idea that it is not a bad thing. So if it is not a bad thing, it is an act of just passion. Then when they accuse someone of it, they have no concept of what they're accusing of them. And I just want to go up I want to reach through the screen and shake these girls. And then there's the comments. The comments going, oh my God, this is so romantic. I'm like, oh my God, this is 50 Shades of fucked up.
Well, I mean, think about the message that sends to an actual victim too.
Yeah.
Where they go through this horrific experience, and we both have, right? And they're seeing that I'm supposed to now love this person or, you know, be infatuated, whatever term you want to use. That's insanity. Insanity.
And they go through a lot.
Actual victims.
It does hurt victims, and a lot of. See, I still maintain that coercion without the ability to say no is just R with extra steps. You're not being forcefully held down. You're being held down by circumstance. You know, the way I say it is, if a man holds you at pew pew point and says, "Do me now," or "I'm gonna pew pew you," is that still considered R? And most people say, "Of course." I was like, so, but you still agreed. You still technically agreed. And that's the thing that I'm seeing over and over and over again represented in these stories, again, both in the online fandom worlds and in actual print book in the young adult section, which the young adult section is supposed to be geared towards like college age, 21 to 30, but it's being consumed by mostly teenage girls between the ages of like 11 and 16. And they're basically doing R with extra steps. They're adding in coercion elements and, you know, the alpha omega crap. And it was okay because XYZ, or they'll dress P3DO up because the love interest was, you know, an immortal something or other, but he's stuck at a certain age. I was like, I don't care at what age he's stuck at. He's still 405. And this is what girls are consuming. And this is why they think that when they accuse someone of it, it's no big deal because they've romanticized the ever-loving crap out of it.
I'll look forward to that video. Now you got them all talking about great. The worst movie in the history of mankind, okay? And I would not buy that book, but back then I was running fitness classes. And of course, it was all the rage for all the women. So one of the women lent me her book. I think I got about 15 pages in. The misspellings, by the way, the poor grammar, that's a whole other thing. But hands down, worst movie I've ever seen. I know there's sequels, but I haven't read them. And like I said, I got maybe, I'll say even up to 20 pages in, and I just shut it.
So 50 Shades of Grey started out as a Twilight fan fiction. Now, Twilight sucks on its own. I despise that.
Now you stepped in it.
Book series because of the way it shows an unhealthy relationship and romanticizes it. There is nothing healthy about that relationship. I can't even speak to it. So. And then they took that unhealthy relationship, fed it steroids, and made it worse. I was like, well, that escalated quickly. I have never really been a type of person who would say burn the book or use it as TP. But when it comes to either the source material Twilight, or as I call them, Twitards, Twilight is literally a depressed emo teenage girl trying to decide between necrophilia and bestiality. That's it in a nutshell.
Oh boy, you're on fire today. Woof.
And
you're gonna get us banned.
And I'm always the problem, but
apparently not, because lately, you know what I am now.
But the book, that one's bad enough, and then they have 50 Shades on top of that. It was recommended to me. I made it about 3 chapters in, and I put it down, and to this day, it's like, if he were ugly and poor, this would be an episode of Criminal Minds, not the best-selling romance movie.
Exactly.
There is nothing vaguely romantic or appropriate about this at all. But adult women were swooning over it, and then the adult women were letting their young, impressionable daughters read basically smut on, and not even good smut.
I actually am working in a video where I compare and say women have this problem with porn, yet if you read the books they read, they're every bit as graphic. It's just that men
some of them are even worse.
Men are visual, women like the words. It's the same thing.
I do have a book mark that my husband gave me. It says, "Of course I don't watch porn. I read it like a fucking lady."
Yeah. All right, let's get back to some questions. Brian said, how's the birth rate in America? It is plummeting and only going to get worse.
Especially some of those laws that these people are trying to pass.
It is. Japan, I believe, is the worst in the world. I think Korea's right behind them. I don't think the U.S. is far behind either one of them. And men are just done and walking away. There's going to be a real problem in a generation, so 10 to 20 years. It's going to be a real problem. All right, after that, Ezekiel asked, do we think TikTok is going to ultimately be banned? You first.
Yes. It's going to be slow, though. It's going to... I don't necessarily know if it's going to get banned, or if it's just going to become so useless that it becomes the next MySpace. which is still technically up.
MySpace still exists. I still have my account.
But everyone's going to flee it like rats fleeing a sinking ship.
Steve just corrected me and said Korea is the lowest. Thank you, Steve.
Steve asks, have I ever read a bodice ripper? Not only have I read several, I've written several.
I don't want to know. You're my daughter. Stop it. So just to answer, give me my thoughts on TikTok. By the way, guys, did you know we're only about 3 weeks away from the next ban? Everybody doesn't. You hear any talk about that?
No.
None. So none. Trump on the 20th of January, when he got inaugurated, gave him 40 days. We are over a month in. There is nothing out there that I can see that's going to stop it. My guess is it will not be banned. It will be sold in time. To who? That remains to be seen. There's no chatter. None anywhere. And I went looking, actually. I think there's probably a deal going on, and everybody's gone silent so they can get the deal done. Otherwise, in about 2 weeks, Lindsay and I will be on late at night when they do the next band, because I'm going to make her join me this time, because the last time was a ball. And we'll be the last two standing. Oh, all right. This one's for Lindsay. Well, for both of us. But Ezekiel also asked, do you think it's better to avoid physical contact, I assume with a woman, could be a man also, to stay out of trouble?
Honestly, yes.
I agree. At this point, guys, the risk of a false allegation, unless you know you can trust a woman, stay away from them. I'm at the point now, and I've talked about this in videos, and you know I have. Men should be wearing body cams 24/7 if they're out in public. Mm-hmm. You know, it is what it is at this point.
I got you know that I still have that one stalker on Facebook who's trying to convince me that Mr. Squirrely is having an affair and has been for many, many years. Based on all of the information that I've already put out there, that he's in the military, that he flies a C-5, all of that.
It's not like you've hidden.
It's not like I've, hidden any of that. And I'm just letting them dig themselves in deeper and deeper hole, because first of all, there is not a single woman that works in his building, and I have him low jacked. We have Live 360 on our phones. I know where he is always. Two, in his squadron, I also know all of the women there. And one of them is a really good friend of mine. If he were talking to anyone for more than 30 seconds in the hallway, I would know. She would tell me.
Yeah. And relish it if she could, yeah.
Yes, the only one that my husband is having an affair with, as he told me personally when I first showed him that, is one of my 16 other personalities.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's already sleeping with 5 women. They just all happen to be in your body.
And one of them is Brittany.
Speaking of which, did you see I sent you that thing? You got to get that done.
Yes, we do need to get that
We have another Brittany coming out. So those of you that loved Brittany will be coming back out hopefully in the next week or so.
I'll be back like
Brittany and the Bear. That's all I'm going to say. All right. Angel said, Dan, do you believe bad boys bank on a woman's need for safety as an excuse for their toxic BS? They're not that smart.
No, you have endowed them with intelligence they
do not have. Former one. Bad boys are thinking about one thing and one thing only. So, having been that, right? I've told you guys before, back in the early 80s, 81 to 85-ish, before AIDS came about, I was basically what you guys would call a Chad, or we were known as players back then. It's not something I'm proud of. I knew how to manipulate women. I know how to do it now. It's not that hard. You just tell them what they want to hear.
It's really not.
It's if you're like talking about safety. I've never once used that, like, let me walk you to the car. You're going to be dangerous, or I'll protect you and all that.
You would be surprised how little women care about their own safety if he's hot. Like, suddenly,
they don't care at all. or if he's driving an Uber or a Lyft. Women have. I will not go with any
I'm
man
going
alone.
to summon. I will
me.
not go to a man's house alone. I'm going to summon one on the internet from my phone. I'm like,
I said that to her. She's arguing with me nicely, right? She's like, a woman would be crazy, blah, blah, blah. She's got all this thing. And I said to her, don't you have an Uber account? She goes, yeah, so? I'm like, tell me, how many of the drivers were female? She just looked at me. And I'm like, why is that okay? But, you know, and then her excuse was, well, those are vetted. And
not
I'm like,
very well.
if you're trusting a computer program, no one's coming out to check these people. Full disclosure, I've never taken an Uber or Lyft in my life. Don't know anything about the process other than what I've seen and people have told me. But I'm like, if you're willing to get into some stranger's car, don't argue with me about you're worried about your safety, because you're not. So hopefully that answers Angels.
I'm reading Maggie's.
Yeah, if you guys got questions, open topics. If there's topics you want to talk about, let us know.
Lindsay, what is something I can do at home for my son to help him learn emotional regulation? He already does work out and is spending time outside now that it's getting warmer, but he was just diagnosed with some things, so I'm trying to figure out how we need to change home life to help him. Without knowing what he was diagnosed with, I cannot give any more specific information. If you want to send me a message on Facebook, a private message with what his diagnosis is, that way you're not airing it out, his public medical information out for everyone, and then I can give you a more stylized, specific answer.
Yeah, I mean, we also have to understand that neither of us are therapists or claim to be, or mental health professionals in any way. We got to be a little leery on that.
We have to be a little leery on that. I am not a licensed therapist, but I myself have been diagnosed with enough things with letters.
But I will give you a general answer, Maggie, which is, you know, for boys, and I don't know how old your son is. You can type it in the comments if you want. For boys now, from what I'm seeing, and having talked to a lot of mothers recently for some research I'm doing that are mothers of sons, the boys are hiding out in their rooms more than the girls are. And I'm generalizing, I know that. And I said to one of them, or a couple of them, you know, why do you think that is? Why are they isolating so much? And we had that whole conversation. But then I said, and what are you doing? Right? Are you going into his room? Are you making an effort? And some said yes, some said no, some kind of avoided the question, which means then to no. The thing I would say to you, Maggie, is when you go to your son, let him know you're there, right? Don't approach it like you might with your daughter or a woman, right? Men do not speak, and boys do not speak face to face. You both enjoy that you can go do, and then just kind of casually weave stuff in to see how he's doing, what he's struggling with, anything like that. Share something you're struggling with so that he can kind of feel like it's a safe space for him. And just kind of go that route. Ultimately what you're trying to do is let him know that it's okay to open up to you. And for the love of God, and I say this to every woman out there, shut the F up. Okay. Y'all like to jump on guys and say, stop answering us. Don't stop telling us what to do when we share something with you. Just listen. Gotta go in the reverse too. It really does. And then make sure he's got another male influence that he can go to. That's the most important thing you can do.
And if for some reason you don't have access to a real live male influence, look for books he can read from male authors that have, and we're not talking about necessarily fiction books. So I call it a little kind of like the self-help book type things that like Jordan Peterson will write, or this can help a bit if they don't have a physical man in their life. You want to give them, in that case, literature or something that would make them think outside of their own little box, get the gears turning in their head.
That's a great one, Lindsay. I got to give you a shout out on that, because you're 100% correct on that. and then also read it with him. In other words, he reads it, you read it, and then have a conversation about it, right? That's brilliant. I'm so glad you said that, because
you can also use nonfiction, depending on you said he's 16, so you can do that. But you can also use, if you need examples of healthy masculinity, you could also turn to fictional places for that. Like, say, my favorite go-to is Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. Depending on what your kid's thing is, you can give him those healthy examples in literature form if you do not have access to a real live man. I did that while my husband was deployed for 3 months. And my sons didn't have access to their dad. And then, of course, there's nothing but female teachers at school. And my in-laws live too far away to be over all the time. So we started reading, Percy Jackson and the Olympians and all these books that give healthy examples where there's the boy is the main character, because there's princess books galore, right? Especially now. You have to go back quite a bit to when I was in school before you really find books where the main character is male, and has not been feminized to within an inch of his life.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? And it's funny because I'm going to be doing a talk on this, on the media in general, but one of the things that I'm going to be doing when I present is talking about what you're talking about, right? Is that I argue, going back 50 years, literature has basically portrayed men as bumbling idiots, right? There are exceptions, but like you mentioned Aragorn, people go, well, the Lord of the Rings came out in the 2000s. No, the book was written in the 1930s, right? You can't use that really as an example of, well, not all men are portrayed as idiots. It's a point. I'm not disagreeing, but again, that's not something recent. You need to find stuff that genuinely portrays men and boys in a positive manner, which there's very little of. If you look on TV, movies and all that, it's almost non-existent. And when it does come up, they go after it. I'll be doing a whole talk on this, but the other thing I would say to you, Maggie, a good book for you to read is The Boy Crisis by Warren Farrell. He touches on some of this stuff. He's a brilliant man, someone I consider a mentor and a hero. There's a lot of really good information in there, and you can come out of that with a better understanding of how to help your son, because he does touch on that stuff. All right, next question. I had a couple of them roll in. Hold on, I lost it.
But first, shout out to Sarah Eaton, who is
Sarah popped on. Spud steer, potatoes and steak. I like it. Spud steer, my two favorite foods. If you were president or government official, what would you do, or what laws or rules would you pass to fix stuff? Lindsay first.
Equal shared parenting in every state that I can get it to, and a male specific DV and R domestic violence shelter in every single major city.
The other, I will add, those were my two, but I would also add fix education for boys. Doing away with the Department of Education. I will tell you, I'm all for it. It's the biggest failure ever. Having worked in K-12 for a few years, it is a joke. And it's largely why boys are falling behind. They have known since the 1980s that boys were falling behind in every metric, every single one. And they've done nothing. And most of that comes out of the Department of Education. And that's the reason I think they should be done away with. It has nothing to do with money or anything else or politics or anything like that. It's an utter failure. And we're letting these boys go to school and they're not learning anything. And they're getting so beaten down that they're not going on to college. That's why they drop out. There's a whole host. I could spend 2 hours on this. So those would be mine.
Secondhand Lions is a wonderful movie. My favorite line is "This lion's defective."
Angel said, for both of us, how do you think feminists trap women into bitterness, victimhood, and I hate all men? Oh boy, we could do a whole show on that.
With the one simple rule: accountability is kryptonite. Because if it's never your fault, you're always angry at the wrong person. Everyone else around you, never you. Mirror, mirror on the wall.
I don't disagree with anything said there, but my take's a little different. And I've been doing a lot of thought about this recently. You guys are on topics that I've been thinking about. Um, because people have asked me, why do I think today's women are the way they are? And I blame my generation, which I'm a late boomer, right? We wanted our kids to have the best. That's part of it, but that's not specific to this. We grew up being pounded in the head. I grew up, and I talk about this all the time, with the Brady Bunch, where the girls won every single time and the boys were portrayed as idiots and all this stuff. And that seeped in. It didn't just seep into boys, though. It seeped into girls. So it's the media and the way things are portrayed. It's the way the news covers things. It's the way the politicians have addressed things. So they've created this dynamic now where, as Lindsay was saying, women take no accountability whatsoever. They have put themselves up on a pedestal, and anyone who doesn't believe that they should be on a pedestal, hello me, hates women. That's how they do it. And that's why they've gotten where they're at. I think, though, that pendulum is starting to swing back, and I give a lot of credit to people like Sarah and Lindsay starting to speak up. I'm starting to see more women speaking up about it. Not enough, not by a long shot right now, but I think a lot of it is generational, and it's been going on for I would argue, almost 4 generations. It's going to take that long to reverse.
And in many cases, and this is something that is as far more insidious, is all of this really started our slow decline after the Second World War. And what happened after the Second World War is that a lot of men didn't come home. So now you have mothers raising sons and daughters without fathers. And then you have those daughters who were never raised by fathers trying to raise boys and teach them what it is to be a man, even though they never had an example in their own lives. And then that has continued several generations now.
That's a generational thing where they've grown up. They were taught what a man is supposed to be by a woman
who has no idea what it is to be a man, because she has no point of reference.
And then it's kind of like the game of telephone. Now they've added their next up. So the second generation, the parents of the 60s and early 70s begat the ones from the late 70s and 80s, begat the ones from the 90s and aughts, and so on, right? So that they've added on to each level with this. And it's why you think about, and social media has escalated this to ungodly levels where, I working on a video right now where I'm talking about these women that are putting up videos bashing their husbands, bashing their significant others. And I'm like, on what level do you think in any way, shape, or form that's a good thing to do? And, I kind of avoided it in the video because it'll get taken down otherwise. But where does that mindset come from? It comes from other women, right? They want that validation. They want those clicks, likes, the hearts and all that. Speaking of which, you better all give us a heart right now. They want to be loved. They want all of that stuff. But rather than communicate with their husband, boyfriend, whatever, they'd rather go to strangers on the internet for that. And that is not going to end well in the long run for anyone.
They want to be told that they're right and they're not in the wrong. And so they go out and they look for people that will tell them, yes, you're a perfect angel just the way you are, and it's all his fault. I had one on Facebook where this video is talking about how, now there is no way to verify if this is true or not, because it's a whole bunch of words telling a story over a stagnant picture. This woman is talking about how she was so sick of her husband not cleaning up after himself in the bathroom. And so she just let him have the whole upstairs to himself to do whatever he wanted with. And he didn't clean for a month. There's black mold everywhere. She's not showing a video of proof. She's showing a video of the words popping up over her perfectly clean shower with no black mold. So I went into the comments of that video and deposited alternative scenarios for why he might be doing this behavior. First of all, I prefaced it by saying we don't know his story, so for all we know, this woman is wildly exaggerating and or flat out lying.
Oh, women would never lie.
No, women would never lie. But even if, and I spitballed tons of different things, like maybe she's exaggerating and it's not really that bad, but she's been so nitpicky that he just decided not to clean for a while. I even mentioned that, when my mother had diagnosed OCD before it was given that name. I don't remember what it was originally called, but she was very fastidious and specific about how I washed clothes. My laundry got washed so often that I had clothes disintegrate because they weren't meant to be washed that often, but I still had to do it. So when I moved into my first apartment, I don't think I washed a single sock for a solid month. I went through my entire wardrobe because I saw it.
Well, then do it.
Yeehaw! But then I rebelled for just a little bit because I had my mother breathe down my neck for a decade. Of you have to do it this way, you have to do it this way, and there will be severe consequences and punishment, and you'll lose privileges if you don't do it my way. Yes, you can have a happy hippo.
Well, can I have one too?
I can't throw it through the screen.
You can Uber it to me.
I can Uber it to you. That'll be a long, expensive
DoorDash,
Uber.
right? There's DoorDash something. I never use DoorDash either. I can tell you that right now.
But so yeah, I rebelled. Maybe he's doing that. Well, there's black mold. Do we know that for certain? She's not showing us any proof. It's a whole bunch of words. I mean, you're taking this woman at her word.
And that's the problem, right?
And the thing,
we've reached the point in our society where it's believe all women no matter what.
And so then my next deposit, and I was kind of doing a social experiment to see if anyone would take me up on giving him the benefit of the doubt. And I go, even if this is true and he did this, to me, that level of just letting black mold grow means that there's a bigger problem, like, say, deep depression. You just are going through the motions. You are not caring. If that is true, and what she's saying is actually true, it sounds to me like he's got more of something going on, like a deep psychological issue. In which case, instead of getting him the help he needs, his wife is bashing him on the internet to make him look like he's the bad guy when he is severely, obviously, mentally depressed or something. And they're like, well, you're just assuming. And I go, yeah, so are you. You're assuming she's telling the truth. I'm depositing a different scenario that might give you whatever. But I'm like, if this were reversed and a husband were doing this to his wife, women in the comments would be bending over backwards trying to create scenarios to explain why she's doing this and why it's justified. But for some reason, if it's a woman bashing her husband, not only is the woman automatically telling the truth 100% on a stack of Bibles that she would never exaggerate or just plain make it up at all, but then we're so quick to demonize the man and say, yes, he's a horrible person based on only this evidence, when if it were reversed, again, you'd be bending over backwards to try and, well, maybe she's depressed. Maybe she just had a baby and has postpartum depression. Said, yes, all of which is perfectly great. But why are we willing to do that automatically for women? But our gut response is to just heap on the you're a terrible person. He's a horrible person. She deserves, you should leave him. Can you imagine if he really were deeply, darkly depressed, like maybe even on the verge of self-deletion, and he were to find this on the internet?
And he will at some point. That's the thing. Women believe that guys are never going to find out, right? Trust me, ladies. You can create all the dummy accounts and block him all you want. Your accounts are fed to your friends and family automatically. Somebody's going to see it. So even if you block him, somebody's going to see it and mention it to him. You may think you're hiding it. You're not. And then I'll have the ones, well, he knows, he doesn't really care. Bull, you know what? Okay. He cares. He just knows he can't say anything to you because you'll lose your shit on him. And the problem is not tolerate it. And my argument that I'm making, I'm giving away the video, the ending of it, which is, if your woman, your significant other does this to you, leave. You're done. Finished. Over. You can never trust her again. You should never forgive her, because trust me, it's like a drug to them. If they post the thing up, and some of these videos get millions of views and hundreds of thousands of likes and comments, there's a dopamine hit attached to that. It's a drug, and they will keep doing it, and they will try and hide it over and over again. There's no point at that point. The relationship's over. She doesn't respect you.
The same
Any
is
woman,
true of those.
and by the way, I would argue that if a guy did that to a woman, right?
Yeah.
The respect is gone. There is no respect. There is no trust in that relationship. So why stay in it? Leave. End it. You know, people have said to me all the time, you say things about women, and what does your wife think? Well, one, my wife agrees with me. Two, and I can honestly say this, there hasn't been a single time I have put anything that happens in our relationship or our house into a video, unless it's been positive. And that's the agreement I have with her. I don't talk about us, right? Because that would be disrespectful to her. And when I do bring things up that are positive, she knows it. She's got full access to the accounts. She can watch any video she wants. I don't hide any of my accounts from her at all. I don't block her. I would never do that. That would be totally disrespecting her. And I know you're the same with your husband.
Yeah, I don't.
It's a matter of respect.
Unless it's positive, I don't talk about Mr. Squirrely. And he has requested that I not make him a presence on the internet, which is why you never see him in any of my videos. He might pop up occasionally in the background from like the neck down, but he has requested that he does not want his face plastered all over the internet. And because I'm not a bitch, I respect that boundary. And yet, your husband's not real. You're secretly a man.
You'll never find a woman.
You'll never find a, you're not really married. How would you know? And I'm like, no, that's just the thing. I am happily married, which is how I can tell you that what you're doing is wrong. You're doing it wrong. You're not going to be married for very long.
What cracks me up is even if you proved it to them, they still wouldn't believe it. I mean, Lindsay has come to my house. She's met my wife. I've met her husband. They exist, people. I can guarantee you they exist. Okay. We're not hiding anything. And no, we are not married ourselves. Okay. To each other. Some people think that sometimes too. Let me get rid of that one.
And I say ew only because I see him as a parental figure, not.
Stop it. You just put me down. No, I get it. And all kidding aside, it's the same for me, right? I view her like my daughter because she is too much like my oldest daughter. It's scary, actually.
5 minutes. I was in your house 5 minutes, and that's what your wife said, is she's just like your eldest daughter.
Yes. You and Amanda, the only difference between you is she's a redhead and you're a blonde. Other than that, it's about pretty much the same. You're even the same height, built the same way.
We were born in the same year, right?
Yes.
Okay, yes. I have to ask, what month was she born in? September. Oh, I was October.
Yes, I know. You were only about a month apart, but she's a twin also. So, but yeah, I mean, when that video comes out, I know I'm going to catch hell for it. I can hear all the women now. We don't do that, blah, blah, blah. And that, that's something that my channels and yours are designed to help men and talk about things that men go through and all that. But part of what we're both trying to do is educate women. But they just don't want to hear it. Going back to why women are so bitter and all that, it's because they do not want to listen to men. They don't want to hear it.
They barely want to listen to other women, although I have a better shot sometimes in getting through to them. And one of the things that I always love to say is like, well, I don't do that. I was like, okay, great. Why did you feel the need to tell me that you don't do that? Because if you know that you don't do that, then me saying women do this wouldn't bother you. And
I will tell you right now, any woman that says she doesn't do it, does it.
Does it. So I use an example. We were out somewhere and my mother-in-law we were going somewhere, and I am not religious. I am pagan. So I went to my grandfather-in-law's funeral, which is in a Catholic church. And I was asked if I would be okay to be in this building. And I'm like, it's a building. It's a nice building. I mean, the windows are nice and everything.
Oh, they're very pretty.
But because it has no significance to me, I'm not offended by it. Only someone who has attached significance to it would be offended by being in it. To me, it's just a very pretty building. It has no divine purpose. It has no divinity attached to it. It's just like, I've actually read the Bible because I'm a history nerd and so much of history revolves around it. But I can read a book and separate what people believe it is with its historical content. I'm also not nearly arrogant enough to think that just because I don't happen to believe in the divinity of something, that there is not wisdom to be found in varying different sources. Even a broken clock is right twice a day, or could tell you what not to do. And that's what I say to these women. It's like, look, if it's like, are you going to catch on fire if you walk in the doorway? No, I do not, in fact, catch on fire if I walk through the doorway. But I'm like, look, if it doesn't bother you, or if it doesn't pertain to you, then we're obviously not talking to you. And the only reason you would have the need to stand up and say, I don't do that, is because you're either trying to shield the fact that you do that, or you know someone that does do that and you're offended on their behalf, which I don't understand why women do that. Why on earth do you get offended on someone else's behalf? Do you know how many people get offended at Dan on my behalf? And I'm like, but I love him. He's great.
Yeah, because again, it goes back to the accountability. It's not just women can't take accountability for themselves. It's other women too, you know. We're about an hour in. I want to give some shout outs because we've been going crazy. Micah, hold on. Micah 1254 sent us a bunch of stuff. Thank you for that. Spud Steer went crazy with roses. Thank you, my friend. We already got the hat and mustache. So shout out to all that. Hey, we're about an hour in. If you're enjoying the show, give us the like, give us the thumbs up. If you're watching this on YouTube, Facebook, Insta, follow us. That's Boy Meets Squirrel. We moved everything over from my channels except on TikTok, which we got to get TikTok up and running so we can move the show to there as well.
It's still there. It will not upload any videos. I can comment, log in, and I can comment as Boy Meets Squirrel. So the account does exist.
There. Yeah.
But every time I upload, nothing.
And I tried to. So, but yeah, make sure you follow us, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. And again, it's open forum today. Throw out questions you have. They can be related to men's or boys' issues. You can ask us personal questions to a point. You can get our opinions on stuff. We'll share. We're open books, both of us, to a point. I mean, there's some things we can't share, but Country just said Instagram will probably be dead. It's completely dead, my friend. To the point I'm probably going to give up on Insta pretty soon. Insta does not push us out at all, which is funny because my account on Insta and my Facebook have exploded. I don't know why, but
I am slowly creeping along. Hold on.
Oh boy, there I was waiting. I knew she was going to explode. I love it when she does that. Again, she's my daughter. She acts just like I did. But yeah, so make sure you follow us, like all that good stuff. The more we grow, one of the things we want to start doing, and Lindsay doesn't know what I'm about to say, is bringing guests on. And I've already lined up a guest for next week.
Oh, have you?
I have. So David Pizzara, who is a divorce attorney, one of the good ones, has now, it's a loose commitment because he is a lawyer and he represents fathers in family court. And if a case comes up and he has to go to it, he has to do that. But if nothing comes up, he will be joining us next Wednesday, and you will be able to ask him anything you want regarding divorce, understanding that he's only licensed in California, so he's got to keep things very general. He can't handle very specific things in your case because that would be giving legal advice. But he's going to become available, and we're going to have some good chats, talk about some things. If you're not following him, make sure you are. He's got multiple accounts. Union of Dads.
He's the one who does Dad's Law School.
Dad's Law School is the other one. Union of Dads. I know he's got in fact, I want to go to it. He's doing a boot camp for fathers to teach them how to represent themselves. I want to talk to him a little bit about that. And I actually want to go to it. Not that I'll ever need to worry about it, but it's
good information to have.
Fantastic information. But the most important thing is everybody says there's no good divorce attorneys. He is one of the good ones. He only represents dads, and he does not pull punches. You know, one of the reasons I respect him so much, and I've had him on my podcast a couple times. I had God knows how many conversations with him, is he will tell you point blank, here's what your realistic chances are. And guys don't like hearing that sometimes, but you need to hear that and understand. Yeah, I can win your case. It's going to cost you right? He's all for representing you and doing all that, but he's going to tell you, here's the real cost. Here's what you need to expect. And I respect the hell out of that. Whereas most of them will go, oh, we're going to win your case and we'll make her pay your attorney fees, because that's what they tell the women, right? So yes, he is scheduled to join us next Wednesday, which is the 5th, if I remember right. And we'll be having a conversation, and you guys will be able to ask him questions, and also even just talk about various legal issues in general that you might want to run by him. So again, though, he will not be giving legal advice, though. I have to make sure we have that caveat in there.
Steve asks, what about the all-female law firm in the Midwest that specializes in men's divorces? I don't know which one you're talking about, so that doesn't mean they don't exist. Because they are creeping up. There's
several actually.
There's several law forms. There's Cornell or something in Texas that specializes only, and I've sent a couple of people their way, that specializes in dads and divorces and custody cases. They actually have a pretty good track record. I did a little bit of research into them before I sent anyone to them, because I'm not just gonna believe what it says on the tin without actually opening the lid.
Steve, send me that TED Talk. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Lindsay. He just said the head of the firm gave a TED Talk. I would love to see it. I have not seen it.
I would love to see it too.
And this is one of the things, by the way, with Reforging Families that Lindsay and I are part of, along with Curtis, that we're going to be doing, is getting a database together of good, vetted attorneys that will represent fathers properly, right? They're not going to BS. They're not going to take advantage of you or any of that stuff. They're going to tell you like it is, but represent you to the best of their abilities, and they will be vetted. So you'll have access to that. Same thing with mental health professionals. I can't go into specifics, but I've had 2 guys contact me in the last few days. One of whom is on the verge of unaliving himself and way beyond my ability to help. And I'm trying to find him someone. So if you are in the Kansas City area and you know of a really good mental health professional, DM me, because I'm trying to find someone that can help this guy. And I had another one. He's not to that level, but he's struggling. And we don't have a listing of good mental health professionals. And that's the other thing. We want to get a database going for that, so that guys can pull our app down, say, all right, I live in Kansas City. Here's 1 or 2 people you can go that you are going to respect you, And I'd argue the mental health side is more important than a divorce attorney, because mental health right now, I have a woman that I've been helping with her dissertation. So she's getting her PhD in psychology. She's going to become which one is the one that can prescribe shrink? The psychologist? I forget.
Psychologist, I believe. Clinical psychologist.
Yes, she's going through all the motions of that. She's at the point where she's writing her dissertation. And she's trying to talk about how there are issues with men getting help. Even the dog agrees with me. And her advisor, this is fun. Her advisor is telling her that no, she can't do any of this because we have to focus on the issues that women have, that feminism. He has, how did she say it? I'm putting words in her mouth, but it was that he has studied feminism and wholeheartedly agrees with everything he says. And that needs to be brought into the mental health profession. That's scary. If this guy's teaching people that are going to go out, that's scary. So that's why that's so important.
We have a question. Shush. We have a question.
The hubby or the dog? Wow, you need to go handle that. Go, I got it.
No, that was a combination of the gremlin and the husky.
Everybody.
Anyway. Dan has a question. Said, what do you say or think about the men who use men's issues as an excuse to shit and hate on women? I loathe them because they make my job that much more difficult. They are the reason why I am vetted to within an inch of my life if I'm on any kind of men's forum or if I'm on any kind of Facebook page or TikTok page that is geared towards men's issues. I am automatically distrusted because of my gender, because of men like that. And all I can do is just stay the course. Stay the course and just
come on, get it out. Go handle it, because I can see she's gonna lose it. She's gonna lose it. I'll jump in here and say the classic one I always point out is Andrew Tate. To me, he is a grifter. He does not care about men in any way, shape, or form. He's out to make money and a name for himself. And he causes more problems for people like Lindsay and myself and men in general and getting their issues addressed. And I throw Pearl in with him too, even though that's a woman, not a man.
No, but she's the male or female equivalent of, she really is a pick-me. She tells men what they want to hear, even if it's not the truth. She
gets them to pay money to her.
Gets them to pay money to her. She says some really off-the-wall things that do not pan out. And they both have the same problem. They both do bring up real issues. However, they are not interested in solving the issues. They are interested in making you angry about the issues because anger gets them clicks and likes and money and all of that. Yep. And I would rather be a smaller channel but actually do good. That's why I end almost every single one of my YouTube videos with do good. Go out and do good things. Than I would to be that big. Now, I would love to be that big because I could help. I could only so much in the fact that I could help and reach that many more people.
Yeah. The problem is, and I was having a conversation with a group of people yesterday about this specific issue. When you go into the mainstream media, as bad as they are, CNNs, MSNBCs, Foxes, NBC, any of them, that's who they're interviewing to speak on behalf of men's rights or issues. They're bringing on Tate, they're bringing on Pearl, the two potentially worst possible people you could bring on, because they're not speaking for men or men's issues. They're trying to create themselves into celebrityhood and make millions of dollars in the process. If I wanted to make millions of dollars, I know exactly how to do it. And it would be either do what Tate does or do what Mr. Clippy does, which is the other side of the issue. The guys who pander to women and tell them what they want to hear and get literally millions of followers trashing men, right? And absolving themselves of, I'm not like that, but every other man in the world is. It's those people like that on either side are not helping anyone.
Because they're not interested in money. And they're not interested in fixing the problem, because if they fix the problem, their need for them goes away. I would absolutely love to be able to retire one day as my job is done, as in I want to become obsolete, because that means that I succeeded in what I was trying to do and I'm not needed anymore. That's great for me, because it means that the issues that I've been fighting almost my entire adult life for don't exist anymore. I would be thrilled with that.
Yeah. Like Maggie said, Nick Freitas, who I like a lot of what Nick says. I like him. I like him as a politician, but he's not helping guys. He is old school Republican conservative, telling guys to basically get burned. Man up, go get married because it's going to be great. No, it's not. All right. I'm not opposed to marriage or relationships. I'm a big fan, but if you're telling men you should get married because it's your duty and you should be providing, no, you're literally saying men are disposable. You don't care about them. And I have asked him to come on my podcast. I've reached out to him a half dozen times. He does not reply to me because he knows, I think deep down, that I'm right, and he's going to have to be honest about it. I think he's a great guy. Don't get me wrong. I think he's fantastic. But you look at somebody like that, and again, the difference between him and a Tate is he means well. He genuinely does. He believes what he's saying. And I respect the hell out of that. Tate, on the other hand, is a fraud. Okay. And there's a host of them like that. And the problem is that hurts everyone, men and women. And like Lindsay, I'm 61 years old. I am retired, right? I could be off the beaches a couple of miles that way. All right.
Very pretty beach.
That's one is half mile from me, right? I could go do that every day, but I'm here. I'm not here to make money. If I wanted to make money, I'd do it completely different. I'm here to
If I wanted to make money, I would not have a men's rights channel, as I constantly tell all of the women who are on, or you're only doing this to get paid. And then I'm like, yeah, I had someone on Facebook tell me I am only doing this to get paid. And it was like, I don't get paid with my 105 followers.
Yeah, really. Spudsteer had a question for you. He's thinking Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Austin.
Stay away from Austin. We call it East California for a reason. When we finally do secede, we will be building a wall around the state capital, and we will annex it to California, and they can keep it. Personally, I think you should move to good old San Antonio, but that's only because I'm here.
There's a few of you there.
Stay away from Houston, and
if you what about Houston?
If you must go to Houston, stay on the outskirts. The same is true for Dallas. Like Denton, which is close to Dallas, but not it's part of the incorporation of Dallas, but not necessarily. Abilene's okay. College Station's okay. Fredericksburg, which is, and the little towns around the big cities where you're close enough to this big city. Like for me, I say I live in San Antonio, but I really don't. It's just the closest big city. You get all of the fun perks of being in the rural area, including the wild hogs, but you still get to
oh, I'm sorry.
Wild bacon. I have a story about that.
No, that's not the one I'm laughing about.
And then, but you're close to a big city. That would be my advice. Stay away from Austin. It used to be California Austin was called weird, and it was weird, but it was cool weird. Now it's weird.
So Country said, wait till someone does an AI account of Lindsay on that certain channel, Oscar Foxtrot. That actually happened to another creator, Lauren.
Oh.
It was somebody AI'd her. I don't know if it was on Oscar Foxtrot, but I remember a few months back, it's probably a year now, someone had AI'd her some pictures of her and posted them. And she was very upset, and I don't blame her. I have no contact with Lauren at all, and I love the work she does, but it's inevitable. It's going to happen. I hate to say it to you, Lindsay, or Sarah was on earlier. These people will do anything, and I hate to tell you, it's not guys doing it. Probably it's feminists. They will do anything. I've got people out impersonating me right now, not OF accounts, but I said the word I shouldn't have. Oscar Foxtrot accounts. But I've got people impersonating me out on TikTok, creating accounts. One has 216,000 followers. That is not me. That blew my mind, because those people could be following me and they're reposting my videos. And TikTok's refuses to take them down. I reported it again yesterday. They refuse to take it down. Oh, it's perfectly fine.
The sad part is in the comment section of a lot of these videos, because I'll have it pop up on my oh, look, Dan. Oh, wait, that's not Dan. And then I'll go to the comments, and it is exactly what Angel was talking about. It's a whole bunch of men who are raging against women, as if the same thing of it's never their fault. It's only women. All women do this. And I will always say it is not all in this context. Only in this context will the phrase "it's not all women" come out of my mouth. Because that is setting you up for further divide. and we're not going to get anywhere. The bigger and bigger the gulf gets between men and women, the worse off we are, because we need each other. We
And
are
that's the thing that women in particular, but a lot of men don't understand. That you and I both ultimately want men and women to come back together, but we need to address the issues and fix them before that can happen.
We need to fix the minefield. We need to dig up all the mines, get rid of all the barbed wire, and fill in all the trenches before we can plant the flowers. The song "Where Have All the Flowers Gone" comes to mind.
And unfortunately, that means that we've got to say some of the things that we say that women don't like, because playing nice for 50 years
is the reason why we are where we are.
Why we're at where we're at. I hate it when women go, you would get further if you, said nicer things and blah, 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 blah. No, we already tried that, ladies. You don't listen to us. You've proven that.
And the men's rights space, I was aware of it when it first started. Back in the early 2000s is when it really started to pick up speed. It's existed since for longer than that.
Since the 80s. I would say it was really mid 90s when it took off, because VEWA and Deadbeat Dad. So Democrats, Joe Biden was the one who wrote the VEWA law, right? And the Republicans, Clinton was president, but the Republicans were pushing to do welfare reform. And the way they wanted to fix that was to nail dads for child support. So they passed all the laws in 96, demonizing men. That's where the whole deadbeat dad thing came from, right? It existed before that, the term, but that's how they justified passing all those laws. That's what created the men's movement, was 94, 5, 6. And then, to your point, then it started growing in the early 2000s.
And especially with the explosion of Facebook and Karen Strong and the actual men's rights movement and Paul Elam, and those messages started getting put out when the internet was starting to become the meeting place for the people. And I was there for that, because I was already dealing with my peer counseling back before, when you didn't need to be anything to be a peer counselor, it's just a friend listening to you. And I have watched it evolve, and I have watched it go from trying to be nice, trying to, take the high road and be polite. I've watched that fail for 20 years. I'm tired of being nice. Now I'm going to tell you the truth. And if you can't handle the truth, well, then suck it up, buttercup.
Until enough of us essentially beat them over the head with the truth. And it is working. More and more women are seeing the light. I really believe that. And speaking out and saying, wait a minute, and all that stuff. Then turning into Lindsay's and Sarah's and a host of others I could name. The pendulum is starting to swing. But truthfully, it's going to take 3-4 generations to find balance with it. I won't be around for it, I don't believe. But that's why Lindsay's around, because she will be. I'm going to do what I can in my lifetime, but I understand it's not going to be fixed in my lifetime. I totally understand that. But if I can help people like Lindsay and motivate others of you to step up and take over and all that stuff. Again, I've been having these conversations. It could make a world of difference. And I care about people will say to me, don't you care about your daughters? No, I love my daughters and I care very deeply about them. But you know what? I care about my sons every bit as much. And why don't you? That's my reply to them. And they lose their shit over that.
When I say that, they'll say that because I'm a mom of boys. They're like, well, that explains it. I was like, you do realize that this feminist narrative you're pushing hurts your daughters every bit as much as it hurts your sons.
I'd argue more. And I have argued that.
You're Dan. Angel has one last question.
Okay, go ahead.
It is, who do you believe is the worst feminist of all time? I have two. I have Mary Catton Stanton, which is a suffragette who started the whole movement way back then, and it was never about equality. It was always about female superiority. It was always about rich white female superiority. They hated anyone below the poverty level or anyone who was darker than I. And then Mary Koss. Mary Koss is the reason why the made to penetrate has been left out of the legal definition of R for so long. Mary Koss is the reason why there so many people who believe that men cannot be R'd. She is the reason why the false statistic 1 in 4 women have been R'd in their lifetime exists. She's the reason why the college campus, R crisis exists, because she did a study about, she wanted to prove, she went into this wanting to prove something, not wanting to do a study to see if something was true. She went in with a foregone conclusion that she wanted to prove that American college campuses were a hotbed of R, and it was all women being suffered, and it was just horrible. And what she found out was actually, no, it is a hotbed of sexual misconduct that's mostly due to the high alcohol consuming content of that kind of place, but that there were just as many male victims as there were females. And because it contradicted the conclusion that she'd already gone into, she started tailoring the question. She went through like 8 drafts of this thing before she figured out how to tailor the questions just right to give her the information that she needed. And then she took that information, she ran with it to the FBI, and she is the reason why if a 14-year-old boy is R'd by an adult woman, he can be on his for child support when he turns 18. She's one of the reasons. So I hate her. Does that answer your question?
It does. My 2, one would be Gloria Steinem. I'm a little older than Lindsay. And truthfully, if you read Steinem's early stuff, it's not wrong. I agree with her on a lot of stuff. But, once the whole off, she changed, and she is, in my opinion, one of the, because she was the face of it. And not her individually so much, but the group now, National Organization of Women. She became the face of hating men, right? So that's one. The other one will be Margaret Sanger.
Oh yeah.
Who started a little old.
Yeah, but the funny thing was she wasn't. I mean, she is a. Now she is a feminist icon, but at the time she was not.
At the time she wasn't, but she's a feminist paragon, and
she has done so much damage to the family structure and to women in general, I would argue, because she has made us simultaneously sanctify motherhood and demonize motherhood.
And that's exactly why, and I think both of them, in my opinion, are the worst. And yours are excellent examples too. But for different reasons, I think those two. And it's sad because feminism in the early 70s had a lot of good behind it. And I truly believe that. And I support a lot of what they wanted to fight for. There were issues that needed to be addressed. Education was one of them. And Steinem was a leader in that. But by the mid to late 70s, Warren Farrell was on the board of NOW, worked with her, and they drove him out. And he was doing amazing work for them. And I've interviewed him, and we talked about that. And by the late 70s, she became a rabid man hater. And they either she turned herself or they turned her, and she's the face of it. And that's why I think the way I do about her. All right, we only got a couple of minutes left. Let's do our shout outs to everybody that contributed, and thank you for everything. It's been a great topic. Next week, if all goes well, David Pizzara, who is a divorce attorney, will be on with us. If for some reason he can't make it, we're going to go the week after that. Again, he has no control over court dockets. If the judge says he's got to be there, he's got to be there. But he is making every effort to join us. And then Lindsay, how can they follow you?
I am Squirrel Girl 1988 on all my social medias. That is Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. I have YouTube videos come out every Tuesday. And the same videos are also on my Facebook. I haven't done a lot with Instagram lately, mostly just because I've been working on making videos and momming and wifing. Yeah, I actually do have a social life, not a very big one.
Ooh. Oh wow! And I'm Mendy be heard across the scene. And if you're following us individually, great, but make sure you follow Boy Meets Squirrel also. because we are you've seen it. If you're everywhere but TikTok, you're watching Boy Meets Squirrel. Make sure you like it, subscribe it. Your comments are appreciated. You know, when we put things up on those, make sure you click on them, like them, and all that. We're trying to grow these, and it gives us the ability to get guests on and all that stuff. The more followers
and
we
reach
have,
more people, and maybe, just maybe, we can replace Andrew Tate and Pearl. I would love to be on a stage
that
with. I would
I
love
will.
to be on a stage with Pearl because I would let her have it. It's
Oh,
like,
game on!
listen, sweetheart,
Game on.
Clementine, sweetheart, darling, honey child.
And that note, go ahead and wrap it up, Lindsay.
All right, bye guys. We'll see you later.